Welcome back to Empower Indie Podcast. This podcast creates space for honest conversations about health, well-being, and community resources to help people in southwestern North Dakota live healthy, full lives. The Empower Indie Podcast is produced by Women Empowering Women, a nonprofit organization dedicated to connecting, supporting, and educating women to help them become the best versions of themselves. To become a member or learn more, visit wewnetwork.org. Okay, so the reason that we asked you guys to be on the show was to kind of talk about the barriers to healthcare that men face. So, our first question is, when it comes to health, do you think of yourselves as regular healthcare users or more last minute care when something hurts?
Last minute care when something hurts.
What
I
makes it
think,
hard for blue collar workers to be able to get healthcare or to want to?
95% of the time for me, it's just being a blue collar worker and busy and thinking I'll just push through it.
yeah, busy, push through it, and the time, and it doesn't seem like you're putting off something that's that big of a deal until it is a big deal.
That's a good answer. So, would you think that there's like cultural or social factors that play into that, or is there something to do with like the perception that you have of what you're viewed as if you go in for help?
Yeah, hell yeah. Be a man. Be a man because that's that's the only answer I got. I mean I'll die doing this. So depending on what day that happens, hopefully it's not soon. But
It is a cultural thing where, you're told your whole life, like, suck it up, walk it off, stuff like that.
rub
So,
some dirt on it.
yeah, so when it comes time to prioritize it, I mean, if you're not hurt, why go in?
What are some of the things that you feel like would get you to seek healthcare? So this is something that I know a lot of women, especially, wives struggle with getting their husbands in to seek care just for preventative stuff too, because they're, you know, worried about their spouses not being able to know if they have heart issues, to know if they're at risk for anything, and so the wife will ask a lot of, why you won't go in.
I think education can go a long ways. You don't view the body as like one whole entire system, so um you're not thinking about like how your cholesterol or your blood sugar or anything affects hormone production. Um we were listening to one of your lectures on the way to Fargo one time, and I heard him talking about like, oh, well, if you fix your microbiome in your gut, you can maybe tolerate food better. So I thought like, oh, well, yeah, that sounds like something I want to do because I'd love to be able to eat peanut butter without heartburn.
Yeah, so I think it's I what I've noticed is that with men it's a little bit more practical. Like if it's a practical thing in your life that's interrupting your schedule or interrupting your ability to do your job, then it becomes important.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't put my health at the forefront of anything in my life. It just, if it aches for too long or it's too painful for too long, then you get it looked at, and by then you're 2 to 3 weeks into the problem and should have done something weeks ago.
And I think maybe viewing the problem as an isolated incident rather than a symptom of something else. So you are falling apart by the time you go in there, and it's like you have arthritis because you haven't cleaned up your diet and you haven't done other kind of maintenance to your body until the problem is presented.
Right. So, what kind of health issues do you see in coworkers or other men that could have been prevented or managed with regular checkups?
I would say high blood pressure would have been what I had a experience with my crew in Colorado. Is like a lot of us had high blood pressure, and it comes from poor diet and other things that you can clean up with small incremental steps.
For me, I would say it would be uh, bad backs and poor lifting techniques. we lift heavy things stupidly a lot of the time. I myself do all the time.
Well, and I think just understanding too, and getting the perception or the concept out there that if you exercise and you build core strength, that that's actually going to keep you from injuring yourself, and some of those injuries will go away and then less time away from work. But it's like there's this, you know, I just have to keep pushing through, when if you took that time to take care of yourself, then you wouldn't miss work.
Going with what he kind of said, I had a supervisor one time that put it really well, and he said, you stop thinking of yourself as an athlete once you stop competing in sports, but what we're doing on the job site is athletic mobility, the lifting improperly, the not stretching, and, you know, treating your body like a high performance machine anymore. And part of that would be, getting diagnostics on the machine.
That same supervisor told me that predators never stretch before they attack prey.
You don't see a lion limber up before he takes
Never.
down a gazelle.
Ever.
I mean, none of us listened to him and stretched.
Sure.
But it was solid advice. It made me feel cool to be compared to an athlete.
Well, I think that the things that you do on the job site, climbing buildings, things like that, is athletic. So that makes sense that you would treat your body like an athlete. And in that sense, like nutrition and regular checkups and lab work and those things are things that I would recommend to an athlete.
Another thing that used to kind of keep me away from the doctor is not necessarily the fear of finding something wrong with me, which is a fear, but the fear of having things taken away. Like I used to live on Red Bulls, 2 in the morning, and then 2 big Mountain Dews at lunch, and I knew it wasn't healthy. And if you go to the doctor, then that's going to confirm your suspicion that, like, hey, you can't sustain yourself on Red Bulls and Mountain Dew, and eventually that's going to get taken away. So the fear of, like, losing those creature comforts.
And I think of it alternatively in a way now that, like, not so much what you're losing out on, but what you're going to miss out on. So, like myself, I don't take the best care of myself ever, but I've also been thinking a lot lately about how, like, well, my kids are 15, 13, and 11. Man, do I have seriously 20 years left of running with them, or 10 years, when they're grandkids, when I have grandkids or they have children, what am I going to miss out on making poor decisions on a daily basis also? I think about that a lot. So it's the fear of missing out more than anything.
What has been successful to get you in the doors? What's worked for you, or a trick that you can share that has been something that helped you to actually go and seek that health care?
Honestly, education. When I was listening to the lecture and the lady was describing the symptoms, I was like, man, I think she's talking about me. And like knowing that, hey, I might be able to be tolerant for more foods that wouldn't give me heartburn or anything else. And it made me go take a GI map, so I knew exactly what was wrong. And it's hard to fix things if you don't have data.
So I guess let me ask you this question: when it comes to, you're both dads, and you talked about wanting to run around with your kids and stuff. So what would be a driving factor if it was like talking about teaching your boys, because you both have all boys, on what they should be doing for their own health care and how to take care of themselves?
The best advice I think I've ever given my kids is, even after the sports are done, like Josh was talking about early, stay healthy. Stay healthy, stay active, exercise, go to the gym, whatever it may be. Because once you stop, you're stopped, and atrophy happens quickly.
I think you can always get it back, but I think it's a lot harder of a road to get it back than to maintain it.
Yeah, it's kind of a difficult question when you don't do it for yourself. How do you pass that on to somebody else, where maybe it's a situation where you wish to give them something that necessarily you don't do, do as I say, not as I do. So to pass that on to my kids, I would probably go with like a data driven, you can't fix things if you don't know what's wrong.
Right. So for like our kids, we take them, to get labs and identify deficiencies they have as athletes. So I would think that, driving home, that's something that has to be done no matter what age you are when you're trying to do athletic things.
Eh,
Like, you break that cycle of stigma of by you guys doing it, then they're doing it. And
Well,
they
and
know it's okay.
they respond well to the data when they see
Yeah.
the data, and it's like, hey, I'm dehydrated. Hey, I'm eating too much sugar. They respond in at least, the annual checkups are probably something that a person needs to do because you do fall back into the old habits. So even though you know you're dehydrated, well, you're good at drinking water for a couple weeks, but then you kind
Mhm.
of fall back into the old habits.
What kind of scheduling or places or things that you guys have found that help to be able to get you that health care when you are busy and it's not convenient?
I think that Teledoc has been magnificent for a lot of people, myself included. Um, you know, if you know anything about my family, you know that somebody is breaking a bone or breaking somebody else's bone constantly in our household. And it's not always ours, sometimes it's our friends. I was at the rink tonight talking to some family friends, and my youngest broke. They were playing some playground gaga ball. I don't know exactly how you play it, but they were having recess activities, and my youngest broke a young lady's hand at school, and she finally got her cast off, and she said, "I have two hands," and I said, "I didn't realize my son broke your bones too," after all of having broken hand and broken leg children. So yeah, no, I think telehealth works fantastic. But also it's sometimes you just have to fit in those hours between 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. Sometimes you just have to go. So the elongated hours for some of the businesses around town have been very helpful too.
I think just making it a priority,
Yeah.
just actually putting a priority on knowing what needs fixed and um, getting in there to get the numbers. And another like kind of fear was that it wasn't going to be a collaborative effort, like the doctor's going to tell you like this is what you're doing or this is what you need to do, and it's a little dismissive sometimes if you go to quick care. But I found with my primary care physician that it's usually a collaborative effort, and it's a working towards a goal.
So do you think that sharing your healthcare goal of whether it's like I need to get as as much as as I can get done in this visit done right now, like if that's a goal, then you communicate that with them, or do you think it's like telling them like, hey, this is my fitness goal I need to get to, or this is, I want to play with my grandkids, or do you think that's helpful?
Yeah, I like that you kind of have a healthcare why that you
Yeah.
ask people, and I think that that's a really valuable like why, like Warren with the wanting to run around with the grandkids. That's a
Yeah.
great why, and it is a motivating factor in your life. I worked with a guy in the union who his goal was to live long enough to walk his daughter down the aisle, and he didn't live a very healthy life. Smoked 2 packs a day, drank alcohol, but his why for making small little changes in his life was he wanted to be around long enough to walk her down the aisle.
So, what small steps have you guys taken to try and work towards those goals that you have for health?
Mine was lowering my blood sugar. And again, education goes a long ways. I didn't realize like your blood sugar affected how much cholesterol you maintained in your blood. So talking with my primary care physician, she's like, "Oh yeah, well that'll make your blood a little sticky. So if you can cut out some of the snacks." And it was a more collaborative effort than like, "Hey, you need to quit snacks," which was like kind of comforting and motivating.
So personally, last year at this time, I weighed 368 pounds, and I got on Zepbound, and I was on it for about 6 months, and lost 68 pounds, 78 pounds actually, down to 290, and I got off of it. The price out the door was, with all the travel and sports and everything we got going on, it just wasn't anything that I wanted to continue for a while. And so I was on that, and then I realized while I was on it also the issues I had with breads and tomatoes and acidic foods and all those things. So I've been able to maintain the 305 to 310 range for the last 4 months now by not eating white breads and staying away from tomatoes, and just the things you learn being on that particular medicine in and of itself have benefited me. So at this point, I've been a flat rate for the last several months, and I'm happy with that.
So looking back, what's one thing you wish every blue collar worker knew about taking care of their health?
Yeah, that once it's a problem, then it's a real problem. It's like anything else, when if you're not doing routine vehicle maintenance or routine small things like walkarounds on your pickup, all those little things eventually lead to bigger issues.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. You got to check underneath the hood. Teeth are big, the heart is big. I mean the muscles, the knees. A lot of people. I mean, a lot of us in the oil field have summer teeth. Some are there and some are not. And at the end of the day, I mean, I find myself like that's something I wish I would have taken care of. I have a baker's dozen, and it's just the way of the life.
I think also as women, we talk a lot about self-care and taking care of ourselves and how to make us mentally healthy. And I don't think that men share those experiences as openly as women do, of how they're also in the depths of parenthood and work and not taking care of themselves.
Yeah, I don't. I would agree with you. I don't think, at least in my experience on the day to day, I don't ask anybody, "Hey, how are you doing?" I mean, I think that goes a long way. Just looking at somebody
Right.
saying, "Hey, are you okay? You don't look great. What's wrong?" Things like
Yeah.
that. I mean, those are simple things you can ask anybody. How you feeling today? What's wrong? What are the issues? Let's talk about it.
I think, like, I've never had a man ask me, like, have you been prioritizing your mental health, or nothing like that. It's always kind of been a machismo type relationship that you have with other men, especially on the job site. So
So we're charging you to fix it, right?
Right.
Warren and Josh are going to be out there asking all of you
Yes.
Yes.
how your mental health is.
Have you prioritized self-care
Yeah.
self-care today?
So, if it's been a while since your last checkup, this is your reminder: preventative care matters even when you feel fine. Wellness visits help catch small concerns before they become big ones and keep you on track for your overall health. You can schedule a wellness visit at Aspire Health, CHI St. Alexis Clinic, or Sanford Clinic. Thank you to our guests, Josh and Warren,
Thank you.
Thank you.
and for just sharing your thoughts on this matter, because it's definitely an important matter. Till next time, stay informed, stay empowered, and we'll see you on the next Empower ND podcast.